Greetings, YouTube. This is episode 6 of TEW 2016, WWF 1987, The Price of Hulkamania. And we are live for the inaugural episode of WWF Raw. And it's being held in front of 18,351 people at the Rose Garden Arena in Oklahoma. And we open the show with a hype package with commentary from Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura as they run down the card for tonight's inaugural episode of Raw. And we'll see a WWF Tag Team title match between the current champions, the Hart Foundation, as they take on the former champions, the British Bulldogs. We'll also see Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff taking on Jake the Snake Roberts. And then we'll see the very first title defense of new Intercontinental Champion Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as he takes on Hercules. And we'll also see a debut segment on WWF Raw. It'll be the Brother Love Show, and his guest will be none other than World Wrestling Federation Champion Hulk Hogan. So a pretty jam-packed episode of Raw for its debut episode. And that segment got a 77B rating. And we move on to our first match of the evening. And a bout that had great wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. The Hart Foundation defeated the British Bulldogs in 15:30. When Bret Hart defeated Dynamite Kid by submission with a sharpshooter after interference from Danny Davis. The Hart Foundation makes defense number 4 of their WWF World Tag Team titles. I need to remove the sharpshooter as Bret Hart's finisher because he didn't do that back then. I mean, I can't say that he wouldn't be doing it in the future, but as of right now, not really much of a point for him to introduce the move at this moment in time, so I gotta remember to remove that as his finisher. But let's just say Dynamite Kid had Brett Penn. The referee was distracted with the Bulldog and Neidhart. Danny Davis comes in with the Jimmy Hart's megaphone and hits Dynamite Kid in the back of the head and puts Brett on top of Dynamite Kid, and Brett gets the pinfall. That match got an 81B rating. Dynamite Kid had an in-ring performance of 83. Davey Boy Smith 80. Jim Neidhart 75, and Bret Hart 83. And Bret Hart is improving his Rumble skills, so a good way to kick off the show. And we move on to the next segment. So we get a segment from after WrestleMania 3. It shows Bobby Heenan and Andre the Giant backstage after WrestleMania 3, and Andre is shown to be very upset, and he's yelling at Bobby in broken English, and he's like yelling at Bobby, I gave up my friends, I gave up my friends and my fans and everything I built over my career because you promised me the WWF Championship, and I lost. I've never lost before, I don't get it. I sold everything out to you. You were supposed to bring me to the championship, Weasel. And he slipped and called Bobby Weasel, and this kind of like flustered Bobby, and he's like, Andre, I'll get you a rematch. You were jobbed out. You had Hogan pinned for the 3. The referee was biased. He was biased for Hulk Hogan. I'm going to get you that rematch. I promise. You're going to become the World Wrestling Federation champion. I promise. And, Bobby is just like frantically trying to calm the Giant down. Andre is having none of it. And Andre's like, he just stands up and he looks at Heenan, and he just kind of shakes his head and walks off, and Bobby's like, Andre, where are you going? And Andre's like, home. And he just leaves Bobby like upset and frustrated, and Andre's telling Bobby in no such terms he's going home. What does that mean? Is Andre leaving the Heenan family already? Does he regret selling out to Bobby Heenan? what's going on. Only Andre knows at this moment in time. But it looks like as of right now, Andre is gone. So that segment got an 86B plus rating, and Andre's performance was good, no worker improvements. And we move on. And a bout that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat. Greg Valentine and Dino Bravo defeated the Can-Am Connection in 11:46 when Greg Valentine defeated Rick Martel by submission with a figure 4 leg lock after Tom Zink turned on Rick Martel. So basically, the way I envisioned it is, let's say Martel had Valentine and the Boston Crab. The referee was distracted with Bravo and Jimmy Hart. Tom Zink got in the ring and he comes up and drop kicks, Martel in the back of the head and then walks off, which allowed Valentine and Bravo to take control and to get the submission on Martel. So if you think about kind of like how Rick Martel turned heel on Tito Santana in real life and at WrestleMania 5 against the Brainbusters. This just is my take on it, but with a Can-Am connection. So obviously, if you notice the last number of weeks, I was kind of building it up to it, and now I'm like actually pulling the trigger. So the hints of a Tom Zink heel turn didn't go down well with the crowd, who still remembers his recent turn, which once again I have no idea why, because I mean he hasn't turned at all, so I don't know. Dino Bravo had an in-ring performance at 55, Greg Valentine 62, Rick Martel 54, and Tom Zink 45. No worker improvements, so the match got a 62C rating. So let's go ahead and turn Zink heel. And it's probably going to bomb because the game, for whatever reason, thinks he had just recently turned, but whatever. Turn went badly. It is what it is. So the next segment, we get a vignette with Brutus Beefcake at a barber shop, and he is like checking out the barbers giving men haircuts. And Beefcake is just basically cutting a promo about how, he got a taste of being able to cut people's hairs, and he's enjoyed it, and he's going to start doing that more often, and he's going to become a barber. And he basically says, hey, Adrian Adonis, how do you like the haircut I gave you, cue ball? That segment got a 61C rating. So basically just a vignette with Brutus Beefcake hyping up him becoming a barber. So much like what happened in real life after WrestleMania 3, Beefcake is becoming a barber. So we'll get Brutus the fucking barber Beefcake. So next segment, Mean Gene Okerlund catches up backstage with Tom Zink, and Okerlund is questioning Tom Zink about what happened out there, and Zink kind of like smugly smiles. He's like, I tried to be, friends with Frenchie, and he just wasn't listening. He wasn't taking my advice. I had been begging him for weeks to get a manager so we could become tag team champions, and he kept blowing me off, and it started to get to me, and then all of a sudden he springs up, right before our big tag team title match at WrestleMania 3, say, oh, I decided to get us a tag team partner without consulting me. And who did he get? Nothing but washed up has-been fat slob Lou Albano. And what happened? Lou Albano cost us the tag. No, wait, no, he cost me the tag team titles. I could have been a champion in the World Wrestling Federation. Yet Rick Martel and that fat slob Lou Albano screwed me out of the tag team titles. And yet, Martel has the audacity to, say, "Oh, well, I apologize, and I should have listened to you all along." Yeah, Martel should have, he should have listened to me, because I'm the younger of the two. You know, I'm in tune to what's in nowadays. How long have you been in wrestling? To like 10 years, Martel. You've been here, you've done that. It's my turn now, and you should have listened to me all along, and yet you wanted to come crawling back to me and saying, "Oh, I apologize." No, that's not going to cut it. From now on, I'm looking out for myself. So, Zinc just showing a new cocky side to him, basically thinking his shit doesn't stink, and he's young, he's the future, and he's not going to have someone like Martel holding him down any longer. So that segment got a 63C rating. Next segment. And a terrible match. Alundra Blaze, making her World Wrestling Federation debut, defeated the Fabulous Moolah in 8:21 by pinfall with a German suplex. Alundra Blaze wins the WWF Women's title. So yeah, basically, I'm trying to revamp the women's division, and the first thing I wanted to do is get the title off of the old hag Moolah, and what better way to do it than to use Alundra Blaze as that vehicle for the youth movement of the women's division in the World Wrestling Federation. And in this match, Alundra basically dominated Moolah. Although it took 8 minutes 21 seconds, it was actually basically a squash match. This was just a way to put Blaze over as the future and just show that, Moolah's washed up. So Alundra Blaze had an in-ring performance at 29, the Fabulous Moolah 49. No worker improvements. The match got a 40D minus rating, which that's to be expected, but it is what it is. That shouldn't hurt our overall rating too much. And after the match, Alundra Blaze is celebrating with her new women's title, which got a 60/60 plus rating. And then we get an in-ring segment with Bobby Heenan. He's on the mic, and he talks about how last week he promised that the Heenan family will grow. And it starts this week on the debut episode of WWF Raw. And please welcome the newest. And before he finishes, he's like, wait, he's not technically the newest member of the Bobby Heenan family, but he's returning to the Bobby Heenan family because he had to take some time off. He had to take some time off to take care of some personal issues, and he's back. And he's got his spot back in the Bobby Heenan family. Please welcome the Olympic strongman, the strongest man in the world, Ken Patera. So Ken Patera comes out, making his return to the WWF, and they got a 72B minus rating. And I'm not, going to talk about his jail stint. As obvious, Heenan just makes reference to personal issues. I'm not obviously going to go down to the path like they did in real life with, Patera being that bland baby face. Oh, I redeemed myself. No, this is going to be pretty much the same old heel Patera, but without the bleached blonde hair. And which leads us to the match and a bout that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat. Ken Patera defeated SD Jones in 5:31 by submission with a Patera bear hug. Jones and Patera had pretty good chemistry. Special delivery. Jones had an in-ring performance of 44. Ken Patera 65. No worker improvements. The segment got a 63C rating, which, could have been worse. I mean, this was technically Patera's first wrestling match in a couple years. So, yeah. Moving on, we see a vignette for the soon-to-be debuting Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Basically, he's, you know, he got out of his pickup truck and he's like, Hacksaw Jim Duggan here. And I see there's a lot of mean, nasty individuals running around the WWF. People like King Kong Bundy, people like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, especially people like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. People that I do not like, people I do not respect because they do not represent anything that Hacksaw Jim Duggan stands for. Jim Duggan is a proud American. He fights for what's right. He stands up for people. You know, he's going to fight. He's going to not back down. And coming soon, I'm going to be in the World Wrestling Federation. I'm going to help clean up the World Wrestling Federation of the scum, the slime, the trash, the garbage of the World Wrestling Federation. And that segment got a 75 B- rating. So, much like in real life, his vignettes basically, you know, coming in babyface, you know, he's a tough guy, you know, basically what Jim Duggan was. If you watched any of the Mid-South episodes on the WWE Network or on YouTube, you know, basically the same type of character. I'm going to tone down the patriotic stuff. I'm not going to have him always carry out the flag or anything like that. Even in Mid-South, he talked about loving his country and all of that, which is all well and good. But I'm going to make it more like Mid-South Hacksaw and less like WWF Hacksaw. Because he really was an underappreciated talent if you want to look at his overall scope of work. I think because, you know, the WWF was as big as it was, and then, you know, he went to WCW. It was always like the overly patriotic ho, which, I mean, obviously, you know, doing the ho and the flag, which helped make him to what he was today. But I think you got to have that nice fine line, you know, kind of balance it out. I mean, because in Mid-South he was a good worker. I mean, he wasn't technically gifted, but he was a brawler, and I think he was a damn good one. And I want to, you know, bring it out on my game. So yeah, Jim Duggan is definitely coming soon. And next segment. In a bout that had good wrestling and a decent reaction for the crowd, Ricky Steamboat defeated Hercules in 1627 by pinfall with a flying karate chop. Ricky Steamboat makes defense number 1 of his WWF Intercontinental title. Hercules sustained a bruised kidney. Hercules had an in-ring performance of 62. Ricky Steamboat 86. Hercules is improving in technical skills. That's good to see. And the match got a 78B rating. Next segment. After the match, Randy Savage comes out and he attacks Ricky Steamboat from behind. Starts beating him down relentlessly. And ends it by hitting a couple of flying elbow drops onto Ricky Steamboat. And then posing with the Intercontinental Championship over a prone Ricky Steamboat. So basically, that feud is continuing. And that segment got an 86B+ rating. And then in our main event, and a bout that had superb wrestling and great heat, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff defeated Jake the Snake Roberts in 1729 by pinfall with a pile driver following interference from the Honky Tonk Man. So basically, the way I had it pictured out, Jake Roberts is setting up Paul Orndorff with a DDT. Heenan is distracting the ref. Honky Tonk Man slides into the ring and hits Roberts in the head with a guitar. He quickly exits the ring, which allows Orndorff to recover and nail the piledriver on Roberts to get the pinfall. Orndorff and Roberts have pretty good chemistry, which is good to see. Orndorff had an in-ring performance of 76. Jake Roberts with a 90. That's pretty good. I mean, I must say. Let's see. No worker improvements. The match got an 80B rating. Next up, we have the debut of the Brother Love show. And he starts off talking about, love, the book of love, and how, he's here to preach the message of love to the World Wrestling Federation. And what better way to, get the message across by starting at the top. And when you look at the top, you see the World Wrestling Federation champion. So please welcome Brother Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan comes out, and Hogan's talking about how he defeated Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. He beat the previously undefeated Andre the Giant, and now he's looking for his next opponent. And Brother Love is kind of like poking the bear. He's like, that Andre was screwed over. He was jobbed out, and Hogan is nothing more than a paper champion. And Hogan's like, brother, you're, for being new around here, you sure want to, push the Hulkster's buttons, brother. And then all of a sudden, a man walks into the screen, and Brother Love is kind of confused, and Hogan is like, what the heck? And he's like, Mr. Hogan, I am so good to finally meet you. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is James J. Dillon, and I represent the most elite group of individuals in professional wrestling. And in fact, I want you to introduce to you two of those individuals right now. Come on out, guys. And out comes Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. And Dillon goes on, he's like, allow me to introduce to you Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard. They are the best tag team in professional wrestling today. And they make 50% of this elite faction that I am the executor of. And we've been waiting a long time to introduce ourselves to you, Mr. Hogan. And then Arn Anderson takes the mic. He's like, you see, for the last couple of years, we've been hearing about this guy in New York. His name was Hulk Hogan. Everyone was talking about how he's, making professional wrestling this worldwide phenomenon. How he's taking professional wrestling to new heights that it's never been before. So we got to thinking, we're like, we got to meet this guy. We got to meet what's causing all of this. What's causing all of this fuss, all of this commotion. And what better opportunity than right now to introduce ourselves to you. And Tully Blanchard takes the mic. He's like, Mr. Hogan, we see you, out here. You're larger than life. You got these bright red and yellow colors. This big muscular presence, this nice glowing tan. All these people on their feet. We hear how they respond to you. And we admire that because we know that you make a lot of money. And see, we're about making money. However, don't think we're just here alone, because we're not. Because somebody else wants to meet you. Someone has been waiting years to meet you. And he's not here right now. So you're not going to meet him right this second. But let this be a message to you. Let this be a warning. And heed our warning, Mr. Hogan. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be next week. It may not even be next month. But sooner or later, he's coming. And he is very interested in meeting you. Until then, we've only got one thing to show you. And at that point, the three of them hold up 4 fingers. And Hogan is kind of like looking around. He's, not sure what it means. And then all of a sudden, J.J. Dillon throws powder in the eyes of Hulk Hogan. And this, of course, blinds Hogan. And he's like stumbling around blinded. And then Anderson and Blanchard starts putting the boots to Hulk Hogan. And then this leads to Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard giving Hogan a spike pile driver on the Brother Love stage. And Monday Night Raw ends with Hulk Hogan unconscious on the red floor of the Brother Love set. And J.J. Dillon, Arn Anderson, and Tully Blanchard laughing and holding the 4 fingers over Hogan's body. So that segment got a C+ rating. No worker improvements. So yeah, J.J. Dillon, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard is in the World Wrestling Federation. And they are alluding to another person that will be showing up at some point to confront Hulk Hogan. Who could it be? I'm sure, it's all obvious. But when is he going to show up? You never know. It could be a month from now. Could be a year from now. Who knows? The only people that know are J.J. Dillon, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and this other person. So things are going to get very interesting in the World Wrestling Federation. So Monday Night Raw ends, and we got the post-show match, which is a battle royal, and got a 56C- rating. In a decent post-show match, Tito Santana won a battle royal in 1822. The final 4 included the Magnificent Morocco, King Harley Race, and Billy Jack Haynes, with Morocco being the final elimination, and King Kong Bundy got the most eliminations over the course of the match. And we end the show with an 80B rating, so not too bad of a way to start off our, not bad to start off Monday Night Raw, and it increased our popularity in 8 regions. Until next time, take care.